So the first of the good practices is to not add a catch block that does nothing or just rethrows the exception. Essentially what this means is that catch blocks should add some kind of value. This may be just to log the error to some log system or output the error to the end user. It's usually considered bad practice to swallow or trap exceptions, so this means we have a catch block that doesn't do anything and doesn't rethrow the exception. It just swallows the exception like it never existed. The next good practice is to not use exceptions for normal program flow logic. So for example, if we're dealing with input validation, we actually expect some input to be invalid. Invalid input is not an exceptional situation, so you wouldn't control program flow with thrown exceptions in this case, because it's part of the normal expected logical flow. Instead, you might have methods such as isValid to check whether input items are indeed valid. Next up, it's good practice to try and design code to avoid exceptions in the first place. So for example, say we had a parse method that takes a string and converts it to an int. If we pass some invalid string input that can't be converted to an int, this parse method could throw an exception. Alternatively, we could implement a try parse method, which returns a boolean indicating whether the parse was successful instead of an exception, and if the parsing was successful, we get the result in an output parameter. Another example of this is checking the connection state property of a connection before trying to close it. If we called the close method on a connection that was already closed, we'd get an exception. Instead, this way, we only try and close the connection if it's not already closed, and so avoid the exception. You may also want to consider returning a null or null object pattern for extremely common errors, instead of throwing an exception. The next good practice is to make sure we use correct grammar in exception messages. This means using correct punctuation, correct spelling, and also ending sentences with a full stop. You may also want to consider localizing your error messages. Another good practice is to make use of finally blocks for cleanup. For example, this could mean calling dispose, and by using finally blocks for cleanup, we can ensure that callers of methods should be able to assume no unexpected side effects if an exception is thrown and caught.